of commerce. When business takes a nosedive, they take it easy. Who gets the gravy? Not you. Not me. Oh, no. Well, fellas like you freeze on a breadline.
What's the answer?
Millions of us getting together. This country and its institutions belong to the people who inhabit it. When they grow weary of existing government, they have the constitutional right of amending it, or the revolutionary right to dismember and overthrow it.
I know you could give a fuck of my opinions of things, but please save your speech of your visions and dreams. At least we can sit and shoot this shit at the bloodline. Save your passionate speech from the breadline. I know you study more and understand what money's for. You wanna educate and plead your case for Buddy Shore. We all stand in attention at the bloodline. You got the theory, I'm not preaching to the bloodline.
Cheers and tip your hats to the twisted individuals. Here's the artifact cats feasting off the miserable. Invisible hand is a full animal, metaphysical. Filled to the brim, but still on hunt to starve the pitiful. Pissing on in unison, unity is beautiful. United on a sinking ship, a mutiny, a funeral. You can see the humor in this picture of the future, so I drew an eye patch on Ulysses S. Useless. Granted, it was stupid, $50 is exclusive, and it's all about the Benjamins. Benaki only proves it. Boost the economy, then crash it when it suits. Money running rat races, lacing up our rented boots. What's the use? You should pick a sort of truth and observe the signs of sycamore. They plucked it from its roots. I speak in metaphor to keep you all amused, cause you stupid motherfuckers hear the truth and look confused. Like they better pay some money, right? And they can no, I think what they did, I think, but it's not real. Like they're fool, they're their own thing. But it's the government, but they owe it to the government, right? And
I know you could give a fuck of my opinions of things, but please save your speech of your visions and dreams. At least we can sit and shoot this shit at the bloodline. Save your passionate speech for the breadline. I know you study more and understand what money's for. You wanna educate and plead your case for Buddy Shore. We all stand in attention at the breadline. You got the theory, I'm not preaching to the breadline.
Automatic self-perpetuated negative worth. Debt creation upon birth, only destined for worse. Every cent spent apprenticeship eventually learned that the currency of pension is invested in dirt. Purposeful diversion, so you worship the purse and appease the mighty rolling off perversions of work. This perversion of earth, the same as slaves building pyramids, like tax dollars paid for drone planes killing Syrians. Don't act all upset, you blindly follow Luciferians. Deception is the tool they use to build the major staring it. Question their intentions, it's unsettling to think. Animalistic in the ground, Nebuchadnezzar would be king. But the pride of their control is that their chains will never kink. You've accepted your imprisonment, now freedom is extinct. You can lead a man to water, but he's never learned to drink. So instead prescribing medicine that simulates a sink.
I know you could give a fuck of my opinions of things, but please save your speech of your visions and dreams. At least we can sit and shoot this shit at the bloodline. Save your passionate speech for the breadline. I know you study more and understand what money's for. You wanna educate and plead your case for Buddy Shore. We all stand in attention at the bloodline. You got the theory, I'm not preaching to the bloodline.
For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
They say the ending is upon us. Don't believe the hype. You're sure to see a lot before you ever see the light. See, this is gonna be a little slower than you thought. It's obvious that you never thought at all. I pulled the curtain to the side, show you puppets on a string. See, the puppet master owns everyone that's underneath, and the only purpose is to persuade you how to think. Before you know it, you're a slave, and they labeled you a sheep. That's the same corporation putting poison in your drink. Modify the food supply to make the population shrink, and they fund the politicians that write the policies, and they write the textbook that teach about the missing link. It's lights out, they cut power to my next line. We're all doing bedtime by waiting on the breadline, staring at the clock, waiting for the deadline. If it isn't bedtime, then save your stories for the breadline. Yeah, save your stories for
The love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
Money makes the world go round, it makes the world end. Money makes the world go round, it makes the world end.
America has been called the land of opportunity.
Money makes the world go round, it makes the world end.
Hello.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard the debut episode of Crypto and Chat with Corrected Axiom. How's it going, Moses?
I'm great, Doc. How are you?
I'm all right. You can call me Doc, but everybody else in the world can call me Seymour. That is my new alias.
Moniker.
My new moniker. I like that. That's much better. Since the cardio and chat days, Seymour Mac has been, it has been my bread. It has been my butter. It has been all of that.
I want to apologize to everybody watching. Or any words? I did just surgery. I will look more and more like a chipmunk as this show progresses on. We have on our debut episode a living legend from Nexus Earth, Preston P. Dog Smith. Preston, what's up, man?
Hey, guys.
What is going on? Get you on the screen.
There he is.
No, he isn't.
Hey.
Where's he at? Let's get him up there. There he is. Bam. Put him big. What's going on,
Hey,
Preston? How you doing?
Not bad. Just run around, doing the last minute things for the conference, getting prepared.
The conference. That's why we're trying to get as many people over from our Facebook page to get over to our YouTube for this first episode, which I think, you know, from now on we'll probably, after this, just stick. But at least waiting on a couple of people to filter in over here, make the jump by clicking the button. But Preston, you're so excited about the conference, and a lot of people are already asking me, you know, what is Nexus at this point? The ones that I haven't been talking about this with for the past few months, those people understand what Nexus is. But can you explain the conference best you could?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, Nexus in general is about connecting people and connecting things. And we really wanted to have a conference where we invited people from all different sectors and walks of life and try to get them all talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. It really turned into something more than a lot of us anticipated. We've got, you know, a lot of people, a lot of diverse people coming. But it definitely is something that fits Nexus. I mean, to take crypto, you know, more mainstream and to get more people involved, I mean, people have to talk and people have to understand from all different walks of life, you know, how it impacts not just finance, but how it impacts, you know, everything from, you know, the liberty movement to art and music and how it can apply to those things. And it really is a groundbreaking technology that can, you know, fit into many parts of life. A lot of people, I mean, as you guys know, just from talking to people, I mean, a lot of people don't understand what it is. A lot of people don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand cryptocurrencies. They don't understand blockchain. And, you know, this is kind of what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to talk to people and get them involved and you know, bridge those gaps and just get people talking about, you know, how we can take this technology and move it forward.
How do you decide who you're going to, because this is just the ultimate lineup coming to this conference. What is the prerequisite to get a role speaking at this conference? I mean, and talk about some of these people you do have coming, which, like, obviously everybody's idol, Ron Paul, is going to be there. But
right.
How do you decide?
So when we initially started out, we had a small, you know, kind of list. You know, the team kind of came together with as a group and said, you know, these are the kind of people that we want to see. You know, these are the kind of different sectors, and it really, honestly, kind of took a life of its own. I mean, John Hazel is the director of the conference, and he kind of just, you know, he's familiar with blockchain and Bitcoin and that kind of thing, and he kind of, you know, reached out to, you know, people that he thought would be, you know, good to be there. I mean, obviously you can't invite every person, and every person's not available, but we really got a really diverse group, and a lot of that was, you know, based on John. You know, Keith and I both, you know, we have a strong libertarian streak, and, you know, our goal, of course, was to have, you know, Ron Paul, and when that became a reality, it was, you know, certainly it made our day, to say the least. And but it wasn't really necessarily any kind of particular criteria. But we started out with a preliminary list, and John added to it, and we would add to it and say, hey, what about this person or that person, or somebody else would reach out to John and say, hey, I would like to talk, and we could say, hey, this sounds like a good fit. But it really was just mostly about diversity, and different people talk to different folks, and that's how we kind of arrived at where we're at. And it's definitely jam packed full of people, and prominent people as well.
So Jesse Ventura is going to be there, which is awesome. I mean, it's unbelievable. The lineup is unbelievable. Go to nexusart.com if you don't know already. Is there going to be a live stream of any sort?
Well, we are planning to record all the sessions. They will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. We're hoping to have a live stream if it works out that way. And obviously, whenever we verify how that's going to work out, if that's going to happen, we'll promote it as well.
I like how I was talking to Keith about it, but you're not necessarily just bringing all these people to come and praise. There's going to be a lot of debating going on, certainly with Peter Schiff. And,
sure, absolutely.
And I understand that that's actually going to be an actual debate that they're going to have up there.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's going to be something that's broadcast or recorded and shown on RT.com. But there is going to be a live debate between Max Kaiser and Peter Schiff. I mean, obviously, we are a cryptocurrency, and the crowd is generally, focused on that. But it is, I am interested to hear Peter's viewpoints. I mean, I like the guy. I mean, I like what he, his philosophy. Website call.
Losing you for a second there.
You were losing your audio a little bit.
Woo! Woo!
You may have to put headphones in if you have them.
Yeah, sorry guys. That's our website. Our chat on the website.
Blowing up,
bro. Blowing up, man.
Nexus is going to the moon, so there's gonna be some rocket sounds in the background. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, I'm curious, to meet Peter and to hear what he has to say. I mean, obviously he's, it's every day he's staunchly against Bitcoin. He's a gold bug. He has a gold project, and that's why he's got a little bit of self-interest in gold. But it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. And I mean, Max Kaiser, obviously is a crypto proponent, so he's going to probably ask some good questions, and it'll be interesting to hear Peter's responses to that. We did want to have some folks from outside. I mean, we didn't want it just to be all one-sided. So, Peter was definitely on our list, and, Keith and I actually were talking about it one day, and we're like, hey, what about Peter Schiff? He would be a good person to have there to, talk on the other side, because we wanted to, have a little bit of variety, and it was nice that he actually accepted to come there, knowing what he's walking into. I mean, obviously he knows it's a blockchain conference, so, it was, pretty big of him to actually come and do, our conference. So it'll be.
How much exactly do they even have an understanding of what it is Nexus's long-term goal? Because I feel like I almost don't even know everything that there is to it. There's so many layers to it. It's much more than just a cryptocurrency. And Schiff, certainly, like you were saying, he's got a vested interest in gold returning to be the traditional savings route that people go to. And it seems like people are pulling out of precious metals and going into cryptocurrency. Seems to be a little bit more lucrative, to have a portfolio in. But has there been any actual communications with any of these speakers that are coming? Like Ron Paul, I'm really interested to know how much Ron Paul actually knows about Nexus's long-term vision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, a lot of those folks, that's part of the reason we want to have them there, is to expose them to Nexus and let them, have a better understanding of what we're all about as well. Obviously, sometimes when you're dealing with these people, you might not be directly dealing with them, like, Dr. Paul. We're not, necessarily talking with him on the phone. We're talking to his agent, or we're talking to the judge's agent. They're the same guy. So we're not really, able to necessarily get across, everything that, Nexus is, or what what we're doing. But they got enough information to decide to come. So, they have an idea of, kind of what we're about. But, that's part of the goal, is to allow those people to see what we're about and see how we can, all work together. And, of course, mine and Keith's interest in the Liberty Movement, and how, people can see that, this is an extension of what Dr. Paul really started, and to keep going. And this is one more avenue that we have to help bring those goals about. So it's definitely going to be interesting to open people's eyes.
It's funny because I have the sense that it was the same feeling, and Moses and I were talking about this, and actually Dave Casey had brought it up also. There's a sense of that Paul Fest feeling back in 2012 when Ron Paul was running for his third time for president. And we really felt like we were going to make a difference, like we were going to be able to change the system and really make a difference with the libertarian values, and really kind of break through that ceiling that we've never been able to break through before. And when we were at the End of Fed block party, and we were able to get the lineup of speakers that were even there, and the music artists and the people that came out, a lot of people were saying there's that sense, it's the same sense of feeling that we had back in 2012. Would you agree to that?
100% agree. It's definitely alive. That's in the air. It's a continuation of what Dr. Paul started, and I feel like now is the time that we can all come back together and make it happen. And do what we can to not to spread awareness, and to get people involved, and show people that there are other options, and take it and run with it.
Going back to Nexus and its roots, I had spoken to Keith one time about a couple of scam coins that were coming out, or possible get-rich-quick in Bitcoin type schemes, and he actually had said to me that Nexus started to eat those scam coins. Can you speak to that at all? What does that mean by that?
So, and Colin could definitely, he has, at times described this in, more detail. But, one of the purposes of when Colin got involved in crypto and decided to create his own cryptocurrency was he wanted to do something to try to combat all the scam coins. Because back in 2014, late 2013, 2014, what happened was you saw this onslaught of clone coins that were just, they were literally like pre-mines, pump and dump. People were getting hurt, people were losing money. It made crypto look very bad. And so what Colin, initially, one of his goals was to try to come up with a system to help people out, and take those coins that were scam coins, and try to merge the communities, and try to remove them from the environment, so to speak, and merge the economies, and give folks from those communities something back, and give them coin shield, which is what it was named previously. Give them some coin shield, and try to bring them into the community. And unfortunately, the rate at which those coins kept coming out, there really ultimately was no way to really combat it that way. But it was a noble cause, and we still as a team try to educate people, not necessarily point fingers or say this coin's a scam or that coin's a scam, but try to educate people and have them make decisions about projects based on a lot of things. Now, obviously people, they see dollar signs and they're like, oh, I can make money on this. But, a lot of people get hurt with, even now with, a lot of things that come out and, get hyped up and that kind of thing. So, that was a foundation for Nexus, and that's why we've always been anti-hype. We have never, been out there trying to, pump our coin or have people, go crazy and buy it. We've had a nice, steady, long-term, growth curve. I mean, obviously, as word's getting out now, it's certainly more popular, but we've never, been ones to hype. In fact, we've gone through great lengths to not hype and to not put things out there and, pump the Twitter feeds all the time and, get people, oh, hey, Nexus is the best thing, and use buzzwords and that kind of thing. I mean, we've seen, some coins come out that, use some of the qualities that Nexus already has, and, they use those as buzzwords, and people are like, oh, these buzzwords, and we're just like, hey, we've done this, and we're already there, and hey, if you want to take a look at us, take a look at us, But, that kind of goes back to the roots of, what Colin started. Unfortunately, Colin is based, he built the coin from the base. He didn't start from the top down. He built it from the base, and he looked at a lot of things and flaws in Bitcoin, and he looked at how things could be in the future, and he set a base out, and we've built upon that base, and with our Tritium release coming out, which you guys will probably hear a lot more about it, at the conference, it sets a whole new level of Nexus to advance. So
can't wait.
But yeah, it's definitely
can't wait for that new. Not to correlate scam coin with ICO right off the bat, but how can you explain ICOs and a coin like Nexus?
So ICOs are typically coins that are released or for funding. And, there is, so I'll be honest with you, I'm not anti-ICO because I see it as, in a sense, as almost a libertarian viewpoint of how to raise funding without government interference. But the problem is that, over the past number of months, people have basically just throwing money at them just blindly because everybody's expecting a return, and it's disheartening to see people throw their money away into projects that claim to do this or claim to do that, just like the original coins that people clone coins that people would say, oh, this coin's going to do this or do that, and never develop it. Although I do see a utility for certain things if it's a legitimate cause for people to earn money, to build projects. And I don't wholeheartedly, hate ICOs, but the difference between them is they have a crowdfunding mechanism where they go out, they basically don't have a chain, they don't have a project generally, and they basically say, we're going to do this and give us a bunch of money, and they issue a token on, say, Ethereum or Waves, or now Expanse has come out with Token Lab, they're going to have, ICOs on those. I mean, different coins, have the ability to do these smart contracts, and so it's easy to create these, and you can, hype them up and use buzzwords, and everybody says, oh, this is the next best thing since sliced bread, and this is the greatest idea ever, and, the question is, which of those projects are actually going to come to fruition, and are people just going to run off with the money? So we have generally as a team, we have some concerns, along the same lines that, some of these projects are really going to hurt people. They're going to pump the project up, and then they're just going to walk away, and there's no real accountability. And you saw that, the U.S. decided to make some statements about ICOs and, as crowdfunding sources, and the SEC got involved, and China is now saying, uncontrolled ICOs are not, they're not going to allow it. And, some of that I understand, but, the libertarian side of me is like, hey, do we need to have government involved in those kind of things? Is it government's role to say that? If you run out and you invest money in a bad project, is it the government's responsibility to look out for you and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that? Or is it your responsibility as a private person to say, hey, I should investigate this, but, we get the hey, grandma, I got this investment, let's put your retirement money into it and you'll make 100%. We have those things, and it's like, where do you balance that? How do you do that? And, for me, it's more about education and saying, hey, before you put money into things, look at whether, what may happen, and I'm not saying that there isn't money to be made on these, or that the markets don't happen and prices don't go up, and you buy said ICO at a certain price and the value goes up, or it may go down. It's a risk that you take, but it's more about personal individual choices and trying to investigate. And a lot of times there aren't a lot of information, and when you see people out there doing heavy marketing, and things are being flooded and buzzwords, and people get caught up in the hype, and those are the kind of things that we don't like to see. And we're more of a pure cryptocurrency where we didn't get $100 million to go out and start a project. We did it with no money and grassroots, and Colin spending hours coding, and the team spending hours building the community and guerrilla marketing and that kind of thing. So there's a pretty big difference.
Right. When you guys have said also that Nexus is like Bitcoin 2.0, or you're building, I don't want to say, a better Bitcoin, right? Can you talk to that? How Nexus could potentially increase safety for the network or the blockchain, and how Bitcoin could potentially adopt Nexus?
Sure. So one of the things that you'll hear from me and Keith and Colin and Kier is we all love Bitcoin. We love it. There's no hands down, no doubt about it. Bitcoin's king. You'll never hear us ever espouse that we are better than Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has flaws. And Colin realized that early on. And what he did was he sat down and he looked at some of Satoshi's notes and said, hey, what can we do here to make this more secure, to make it so that you can't it's harder to have a 51% attack, which is you control 51% of the network, you can control the blockchain. So Nexus has 3 different channels of mining, block minting. We have 2 proof of work channels, a hashing channel and a prime channel, and we also have the Nexus proof of hold, which is like a proof of stake, where by holding coins and keeping your wallet open, you basically search for blocks on the network. So in order to have a 51% attack on Nexus, you would have to control all 3, 51% of all 3 of those channels. So that was another security mechanism. And Colin 3 years ago said, hey, quantum computers are around the corner. Let's do something to buy some time if that occurs. And so he developed used SHA-3 algorithms, and we have 571-bit private keys, and so they're longer, so it's more it's a lot tougher to actually for quantum computers to attack Nexus. I mean, that doesn't mean that it can never happen. It doesn't mean that someday that our private keys couldn't be hacked. It just means that we have more time to develop more methodology ahead of that. And so essentially Colin brought these issues about and said, hey, this is all technology that could be incorporated into Bitcoin and make Bitcoin safer, make it more secure. Clock drift is an issue. Nexus has system clocks that are timed more precisely than Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin has a 2-hour drift. That's an attack vector. So it's one thing that Colin coded into Nexus to make it a little bit less attack prone. So I mean, there's a number of things that have worked on, and then going forward, I'm sure that other things, scalability, the fact that miners control the major portion of Bitcoin for deciding what gets enacted, and the core developers have a certain stranglehold on what gets pushed as potential updates, and eventually Nexus will have multiple different voting groups where miners and coin holders and developers and ambassadors, those kind of things, those groups will all have voting power, so it won't be one centralized group to make that decision. And each of those groups will obviously have their own interests, but the consensus will be whatever the consensus is, and that's what will be decided. So
how similar of a type thing would that be to what happened with the SegWit and the BCC Bitcoin Cash? Is that the type of deal where you're going to have miners casting their vote by which coin they're mining? Or what was your take on that with the SegWit that came in after the BCC?
Well, so you can fork Bitcoin anytime you like. And actually, we have Roger Ver coming to the conference, and I'll be interested to hear what he has to say about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, because he is actually going to speak about that. But you can fork Bitcoin anytime you like. I mean, I have some personal reservations about the core developers and how they've approached the block size debate, and how long it's taken to actually come to any kind of an agreement to increase the block size. I mean, as far as the split and what happened with the split, I mean, essentially, Bitcoin Cash is at this point an altcoin. I mean, it's faster, but it doesn't carry the main chain. The Bitcoin chain is carried on. But I understand some of the perspective that Roger Ver had about saying, hey guys, look, this is just ridiculous. We've been having this for years. We want Bitcoin to succeed. We want to be able to have transactions. And when the block sizes are full and the memory pool's full and people are waiting days at a time, I had a transaction that I sent, and I sent it from one wallet from my computer, and I didn't set the fees high enough. And I literally waited 2 days for that transaction to be canceled. And then when it canceled, it resent it, and I didn't have a chance to up the fee. And I had to wait another 2 days for it. And it just, those kind of things are just, frustrating. And, for some of us who've used Bitcoin for a while, and you were able to transfer things faster. Now, I will say that I've transferred some Bitcoin today to different places, and it was very fast. I mean, there was no long wait. So getting into the segregated witness thing, I mean, I don't personally know enough about it. I haven't studied exactly how the mechanisms work, but I can tell you that my transactions went through pretty fast today. Right. So, is it a success in that sense? Sure.
So I have a question. The speed of the transactions, is that determined by the amount of active nodes there are, the amount of people that are mining? What really determines that, or is that just a scalability issue with the way that it's written?
So I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure exactly how it works, but it has to do partially with the mining in the nodes, but I really don't want to lie to you guys. I mean, I'm not really 100% sure exactly how all the transactions and scalability and stuff all works.
As far as the Nexus code, though, it wasn't something about Colin saying that he wanted to shorten the amount of information that needed to go, basically like, less code for each transaction. Therefore, it moved a lot quicker, or am I getting that right, or something like that?
So, yeah, I mean, it's almost like a streamlined system. And, to be honest with you, he would be best to explain exactly where his vision is on that. But, yeah, it's almost like, less processing of the data. But
well, Bitcoin and Nexus both seem to have this weird relationship where Bitcoin goes up, Nexus kind of keeps pace with it, down a little bit, Nexus continues to go up. Do you know what? How is that? They seem almost, as Keith had said, like lovers in the moonlight, crazy like that.
Yeah, it's really odd. At times that there's almost a I won't say that it mocks Bitcoin 100%, but there's almost a lag in a sense where the price of Nexus is going up with Bitcoin, and all other cryptos start to go down, and the next thing you know, Nexus is not going down. It's still kind of just moving along and doing its thing. And it is kind of odd because we've noticed that it's kind of Nexus kind of moves opposite to the rest of the market. I can't really explain necessarily why.
It's pretty awesome. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's an odd thing. I mean, and one thing about Nexus is we have a lot of community members that are we're holders. I mean, we hold our Nexus. We see the vision. We see where it's going to go. That doesn't mean that people don't sell or they don't trade. I mean, there's people, in our Slack trading channel that trade Nexus and, ride the waves up and down and, try to increase their stack and, make money off of it. But in general, a lot of us, just buy Nexus and hold it. And I think that plays into it as well. We don't have people that immediately, as the market turns, selling off large amounts. Not saying it hasn't happened, because it has. I mean, people have said, okay, I'm going to get my Bitcoin and cash out my Bitcoin because I know Bitcoin's going down. I'm going to cash out the dollars and I'm going to rebuy. But it's more than likely because we just don't have those panic sellers, because we know where the project's going and we have faith in the project.
And how awesome is it that Nexus's keynote speaker is Dr. Ron Paul and Ripple's keynote speaker is Ben Bernanke?
Yes.
quite a difference there. I mean, that's goes to show what the aim is of certain crowds.
Do you see blockchain literally being applied to banking systems across the world in the next few years?
I believe it will be. I think that all the major banks are involved. They have teams of people working on it. They talk to people. I think that they are looking for a solution, but they want it to be private. They obviously want to be able to move transactions quickly, into different currencies. I mean, and to be honest with you, from a banking perspective, a traditional banking, as we have it now perspective, I mean, Ripple does have some advantages for that. I mean, it can move multiple currencies in multiple different directions in a very, very quick amount of time. But it doesn't really use specific blockchain technology like we're used to seeing with Bitcoin. And it's all privatized, and the coin itself, the Ripple coin itself, is not really the technology. So it's a little confusing about how that all works out and how that all plays out. But I definitely see banks getting involved. I see they realize that the technology is great, and they want to make things more efficient for themselves. I mean, obviously they don't want to necessarily see a transaction ledger that details all of the occurrences and all the transactions. They want to be able to manipulate that, and they want to they want their own blockchain that they can do with what they want. So they can mess with the ledger. They don't want a public ledger. They don't want it in the hands of everybody. They want something that they can control as they do now.
Right. And the most important thing for me trying to explain people Nexus, as it always comes down to this, which I want to ask you about, but it's the Cube satellites, right? The decentralizing of the internet and why that's important. Can you speak to that? Why is that such a fundamental aspect of what Nexus is going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, that's an ambitious goal, and we feel like that is something that is needed. We have a network that can be used and utilized and expanded upon. And Tritium's setting the base for that can be used to help steward that. And because we have access to, our Rocket Company, and we have goals of, having our network broadcast, we want to make it a reality. I mean, it's something that the world needs. I mean, we want people to be able to have access to this technology. I mean, the world has changed so much from having access to, back in when it started was, everybody called it the World Wide Web, but the web and the internet, I mean, it's a tool that everybody, in humanity should be able to use and use freely. We are at the mercy of telecom companies. I mean, I moved from one town to another, and I had to, basically switch telecom companies, but essentially I'm getting the same thing. I'm paying a lot of money for that service, and people in rural areas, people in undeveloped countries that you need to transact with. That kind of stuff should be available to them, and freely. And it's something that can be done. And there's all kind of people talking about doing internet from space. And Mark Zuckerberg was talked about doing it, and other folks have talked about doing it recently. And it's, who do you want to be in charge of your internet? We're kind of at the mercy of whoever's in charge, and we want to make it something that's decentralized and something that everybody can have access to. And if you have a dish or a ground station, you can tap in, you can use that service. So it's definitely a freedom issue. We want people to basically be free to do that, to transact, to access information, to share information, that kind of thing, without being impeded, or being your YouTube videos being taken down because somebody doesn't like what you're saying, that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's the big one. Do you see this service being like free for everybody, affordable for everybody? Because this infrastructure is got to be massive for this to work. So, I mean, if it's completely free, then how do you maintain it, Yeah,
I mean, obviously this all has to be, worked out, but, my understanding is that, you will have to have hardware. I mean, you're going to have, ground stations. You're going to have something that receives the signal. Not, your cell phone isn't going to receive the signal, but when somebody has a relay station, you can set up mesh networks, and as the mesh networks get larger and people are like, hey, let's do this, it'll bounce around. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely low cost and as free as possible.
Is there going to be a Nexus smartphone? Because Moses put this in my ear. He put this bug in my brain. I don't know if he made it up, but I've been rolling with this now, and it just is. It seems like an amazing future for me to just have a Nexus smartphone that is constantly in touch with the Nexus network. That is
Slack.
It's a Slack phone. I could see this going that route. I mean, the Nexus vision, and I heard that Colin has a 50-year vision, a very long-term vision also. I mean, it's massive, completely massive, and I could see it being a useful tool to have a Nexus smartphone. And I don't know if this is something that's being thought about now, or if we're just too far out from that. But do you think that would be awesome, or am I just talking out of my ass?
There's, Colin does have a 50-year plan, and, there are a lot of things that can be done. There's a lot of work to be done. We have talked in the past about, a Nexus operating system and, different things like that. And, certainly, cell phones or, a communication device wouldn't be out of the scope of the project. John McAfee's coming out with one. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he has a really secure phone that he basically designed to say, hey, you can't hack this phone, or, we're making this phone more resilient. So the possibility's there. I mean, maybe somebody like, McAfee would, be willing to work with Nexus and try to take that a little further.
It amazes me the lack of people talking about Nexus. When I go on YouTube and I'm just for all full disclosure, I have newly into cryptocurrencies, into trading, into Nexus, probably like within the past 3 months. Now, I had an opportunity at Paul Fest in 2012 to buy Bitcoin when it was like $13, and I scoffed at these guys, and I feel stupid every morning when I wake up because I missed an opportunity that, I almost felt like I would never get again until Moses put me onto Nexus, and then I started feeling that opportunity coming back around. I am not the foremost expert on cryptocurrencies, Nexus, on blockchain. There's so much of it that I still do not understand. And I'm hoping that with this, with the conference coming up and with everything that I'm learning here with you, I'm hoping that I can get a better grasp on what it means, and I'm hoping that even through this show, because this show, we want to have people like you on who are very well versed on the technology, on blockchain, but we want to be able to make it palatable for the people who are just starting out like us. Are there any tips that you can give people as far as, and I know we touched on this before, you said that there's some people who day trade, there's some people who just kind of invest into a project like Nexus and sit on it. I am very reluctant to sell any of my Nexus at this point because I don't want to miss any opportunity again. Losing my train of thought as I'm rambling here, but I'm wondering if there's any advice that you can give to a newbie like me coming in, trying to decipher through all of this information, because it can get very confusing very quickly. Where does somebody brand new start at to try to get a grasp on what this could mean for them as far as a life-changing opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for a number of things. Well, first of all, we're all still always learning. I mean, I don't profess to know everything about blockchain or cryptocurrency, and I'll talk to Colin sometimes and he'll just start talking about things and how things work, and I've read some code and I always go in and I read the Nexus code, and even though I don't understand everything that's going on, I read through it and I see how things are laid out. It's really a hard thing to grasp largely. It takes time to work through things. I mean, and depending upon what you're trying to do, if you're trying to be a trader, you're trying to invest in good projects, you have to look at fundamentals and you have to study the team and what they're doing and what their goals are, and those kind of things, and are they active, do they have a big community, those kind of things. But blockchain itself is a very hard concept, and it's a challenge for all of us to try to bring that to folks and make them understand, how life-changing it is. I mean, I have some friends, around here that I've been talking to about blockchain and Bitcoin and Nexus, and they're smart folks, and they're just not interested. They're just like, I don't see this is going anywhere. I don't see, it doesn't affect my life, or, how is this going to impact me, or, that kind of thing. And I keep working on them and keep working on them. But, a lot of things you can do. You can watch YouTube videos. There's a ton of things out there. And Andreas Antonopoulos has a lot of good books on Bitcoin. There's a lot of websites, bitcoin.org, bitcoin.com, to try and get started with those things. And actually, Keith has a great article on Steemit, how to become a cryptocurrency trader. And he kept getting the question of how do I start doing this? And he wrote a Steemit article, and I can't tell you how many times I've linked that article because it's a great article. It's basics. It's like, okay, I need to buy Bitcoin, so I got to go to, here's how you go to Coinbase, and here's how you start an account at Bittrex, and this is the kind of thing that you have to do. But it's really those fundamental basics that we answer calls on the website all the time and chats on the website, and it's a lot of people have basic questions, and they hear about Nexus or they see it somewhere, and they're like, well, what is this? How do I buy it, and that kind of thing. And it's really there's no real. Yep, that's it. That's the article. And it's really
pull it up, Jamie. Pull it up, Jamie.
Jamie Martin. He's not even here.
No, not Jamie Martin. Jamie from the Joe Rogan podcast. Pull it up. You want to see something? Just mention it. I'll pull it up. Sorry to interrupt you, guys.
No worries. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard. And like I said, I'm still learning. I mean, there's always changing technology. There's always, the technical terms like, how does it, transactions process, and, how do you describe a blockchain to somebody? And, it's very hard. And, people have been doing it for years, and it still is hard of a concept. It's not, the blockchain itself is not a hard concept to grasp, but, it's the whole ecosystem, and how does that transaction get from there to there? And it's similar to when people say, oh, I swiped my credit card, they don't ask where that goes, but because it's so new, people are like, well, how does this occur? How does it happen? And what's going on here? And we see all these projects being created, and we see in the news, Bitcoin and these large ICOs, and people are like, oh, you can make money on this stuff, So usually that's kind of where people get involved. I mean, a lot of people, in the past have seen the liberty side of it and the freedom side of it and the economic freedom side of it, but generally people are looking more toward, how can I make money on this? Or I see people making money on this, and it's a speculative thing at times, but overall, it's something that you really honestly have to just dive into and just start reading and start, getting involved in, different, groups and Facebook groups and reading Twitter and, like I said, watching YouTube, because I mean, it's just, it's a hard concept to grasp overall.
Yeah, I know when I had first heard about it, the reason why I laughed at these guys was because it didn't make sense to me. I'm going to take my cash, put it into Bitcoin, and then what am I going to do with this Bitcoin? Oh, well, it'll rise up and it'll be worth more. Okay, and then I'm going to take it out and put it into cash. Back then, being as ignorant as I was, I didn't see the profitability in that. I just saw it as a pain in the ass to go from cash to this digital thing back to cash. And it was like the ignorance is astounding when I look back at myself in this position. And now I'm starting to realize that there are probably a lot of people who get into digital currency, Bitcoin and the like, because they don't want to live in the fiat world where they have to pay taxes on everything. You got a sales tax, an income tax, a payroll tax. There seems to be, your $1 winds up getting taxed, 20, 30 times by the time it exchanges hands. So people getting into cryptocurrencies want to kind of avoid that. But, we are still very much living in a fiat world. So even for people who are trading, right? Say you have somebody day trading, they're buying low, they're selling high. They want to kind of live off of this money, so they're pulling this money back out of the exchanges into their bank account, and then having to pay either a capital gains tax or, like in Pennsylvania, I believe it's a personal income tax. So, so how do you, I don't know if you could even answer this or give any kind of advice on this, or maybe, how do you live in the Bitcoin world and still, although mostly everybody's living in a fiat world, pull this money out? And I guess you can't avoid paying the taxes. I guess you could not pay the taxes and then they'll come knocking on your door. But, how do you make the balance? I know that there's things like Overstock.com where you could just purchase with Bitcoin, or was it PayPal uses Bitcoin to transfer also? I'm not sure. I could be making that up.
BitPay.
That's a Bitcoin application. So I guess what I'm trying to say, there's more outlets, more retailers accepting Bitcoin, so it's easier to live in that Bitcoin world. But do you find it still difficult to try to live 100% in the digital currency world?
I read an article that said only 900 people have paid income tax on Bitcoin. I don't know how true that is, but
yeah, I think that was, I forget what year that was. I don't know if it was 2015 or 2014, but yeah, that is true. I mean, that's part of the reason why, the IRS has come out and basically said that they, how they view Bitcoin per se. We had an interesting discussion about this in Slack, actually last night about taxes, and where we're at is not, it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice, and obviously, we want to see cryptocurrency, used where, it's like silver. I can, if I pay somewhere with silver, I have silver. I bought silver. I paid with it with silver. But it's a personal choice, on what you pay, for taxes. And, obviously, I'm not a tax accountant, and I don't want to profess to give that kind of advice. But, for example, you have I have a BitPay card. If I cash out Bitcoin, it goes to BitPay card. That's cashed out the fiat. That's from my understanding, that's taxable funds. And, I had somebody, say in Slack last night, well, if you pay taxes on any cryptocurrency earnings, I don't know how you can say that, and you can do that and still, profess to be a supporter of that. And that's not the case. I mean, we all live in a country where that's the law. And, my personal belief is, I don't go out and steal things. I don't go out and do that. I mean, I believe that taxation is theft. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily believe that it's good to have to look over your shoulder. I mean, Erwin Schiff ended up in prison because of those kind of things, and unfortunately, that's where we are now. Do I think it's going to transition to where That's not the case. Absolutely. I absolutely do. I think that, that's one of the beauties of Bitcoin that, in digital currencies is you can do that. You don't have to use the system. You using a separate alternative system. It's a barter system. You can conduct trade with others with, Bitcoin. I can buy you guys' merchandise with Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, we're living in the future.
Yes, you can.
Anybody can.
There was another aspect of the whole Nexus idea that I found that basically Nexus can act as a third party contracts as far as working into whatever transaction. Basically, I think the metaphor that I heard Colin use was if I was selling you a motorcycle and I wanted to work into the sale that a year down the road, if something went on it, you can pull 1,000 back. Nexus basically as a third party could work that into that transaction. How does that work?
So that's a future mechanism that Colin's building into the Tritium, Amine, and Obsidian updates. It's smart contract like. I forget the exact term they use, but that's something that we will build on in the future. There is some utility for that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think that people are going to wholeheartedly no longer have notaries or that kind of service. Not in the near future, but yeah, I mean that would be a great mechanism. Say, hey, let's hold back X amount of Nexus, and I paid you 10,000. Well, not 10,000 Nexus, but 1,000 Nexus for whatever for your motorcycle.
3 Nexus by that time, Preston.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, there'll be some pretty happy people if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, so that's that's one thing that Colin is working on, because I mean there is again some utility in having different types of contracting mechanisms. I don't know necessarily that a system like Ethereum has is gonna be the way to do all those. But yeah, definitely something in the future that's coming up.
Much packed into Nexus, it's very inspiring. When somebody like says something along the lines of, if Bitcoin doesn't go to $500,000 within 2 years, I'll eat my own. Do you have to kind of think that he must know what he's talking about on that? Like, do you see Bitcoin going to that price?
Well, I mean, I like John McAfee because I followed him through the libertarian.
He was the only decent choice at that time.
Yeah, and it was funny because Keith actually got on to one of his YouTube broadcasts and asked him about crypto before he kind of really started jumping on the crypto Bitcoin mining kind of bandwagon.
Keith is the Liberty Movement's Forrest Gump. I'm just gonna put that out there. Go ahead, because he's done everything. I remember when he shouted out. I mean, continue. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love Keith. He's my bro, man. We've been together.
King Troll lives.
Yeah. But as far as McAfee and his $500,000, I mean, he's got a reason for it. He did the math. I mean, and to be honest with you, it is a lot, just math. I mean, there's 21 million Bitcoins that are only ever going to be made. There's how many billion? 7 billion, 8 billion people now? 7 billion people on the planet. I mean, if it gets widespread adoption, it's just math. It's math.
Do you think the price of Bitcoin going up is also reflective of the price or the value of the dollar going down or losing buying power?
Absolutely. That's one thing that actually John McAfee recently said. He said, are we necessarily... He said that's why he said about $500,000. He said, because as Bitcoin gains traction, you're going to see fleeing from fiat, and the value is inherently going to decrease. And that is part of his argument about, the price being $500,000 in 3 years is because of that, the devaluing. And we all know, inflation is a silent tax. everything's going to go up in price, and it does, and nobody seems to really want to talk about it except for people like us that know what's going on, but that was part of his math equation. He that's part of why he thinks that it's going to be so high so quickly. Do I personally think that $500,000 in 3 years? I would probably be surprised if it hit that high. I mean, 10,000 I would think is reasonable. 100,000 is, I just can't even imagine $100,000 Bitcoin. Like, I just can't even imagine it because I've bought stuff and I'm like, hey, okay, my laptop was $150,000 laptop, but it goes back to the same story. The doc was saying about, he could have bought Bitcoins, and I buy a case of beer instead of buying Bitcoins. I mean, you don't know, and part of the process is spending those Bitcoins and using them in the ecosystem, and not looking back and saying, oh my goodness, I did this or I did that. But I could say the same thing about Nexus. I've given thousands and thousands of Nexus away, and in the past, and I did it at the time, and it wasn't as valuable, and I don't look back and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I gave that all away, because eventually I knew it would be worth it. But it's the same thing. But that $500,000 Bitcoin in 3 years, that's a lot. That's a lot.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, wrap your head around. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot.
He's going to be eating his dick on live TV, guaranteed.
Well, what he actually said was that he.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he ran an analysis. I mean, he ran a model, a mathematical model, and that's what he come up with. And he's a smart guy. I mean, he's a smart guy. That's what he does. And
banking pretty hard on Ethereum right now too.
I think he's mining Ethereum now as well as Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just saw he had a new interview today on probably CNBC, something like that. And she actually asked him about him eating his dick. She was like, are you willing to remake that bet now on this show? And he kind of fumbled past the question, but he said that he has a huge mining operation and that, it has been very profitable for him. And I believe he is kind of all in on, I don't know if he's all in on Ethereum, but I know that that's primarily what I hear him talking about is Ethereum.
When these...
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, go ahead, Preston.
Oh, no, I mean, he's definitely shown some support for mining Ethereum, and I don't know if that is based on the fundamentals of Ethereum itself, or if it's just based on the dollars and the fact that it's a very mineable and very profitable crypto to mine if you scale it up and do it right.
Speaking of mining, you had already spoke to how Nexus has a lot of different mining options. How exactly? I'm mining Nexus. But I'm not exactly sure how the mining pool is operating. It's happening. But is that exclusive to Nexus? Is there other altcoins that do that?
So the mining pool that you're referring to would be our prime channel mining pools, which historically were called the CPU channels.
Yeah.
They're CPU mining. So those basically it pools all of your computing power together and basically goes and looks for dense prime clusters and mining blocks. Other coins do have say I'll use the term CPU mining, and it's not quite as prominent as it was in the past, but there are GPU pools, graphics processing unit pools. Like our hashing channel, we don't have a GPU pool because Nexus code is a little more complicated than most other codes. But there are lots of mining pools out there that people basically they say, oh, we're going to pull together and mine this currency, or hey, we're going to switch to whatever the most profitable mining currency is, and they switch different coins, whatever's most profitable. And then there's other ones that, mine whatever it is, sell the coins, and then pay you out in whatever currency you like to be paid out in, that kind of thing. But Nexus doesn't have any GPU pools or hashing pools at the moment, not public anyway. Doesn't mean that somebody hasn't developed one, along the way and is keeping it secret, but we don't have any publicly available ones.
Well, just to jump around here a little bit, but when you see something like what just took place the other day was it JP Morgan making their statement, then causing that fear and that panic, do you think that's an attempt at trying to invade the market or buy low, take advantage of some shaky investors in the Bitcoin market, or just that feeling like it could drop at any time because they make it artificially drop in that way? What is your take on that?
So I have a couple feelings about, Jamie Dimon's comments. One, if you watched recently, there was an awful lot of, FUD, as we call it, on Bitcoin from a number of different agencies, from a number of different angles, from a number of different groups, including China, sort of all at the same time. And what I feel is that it was very timely, and perhaps it was to stop the momentum of Bitcoin, and because Bitcoin was in the news daily, prices up, people are like, what's Bitcoin, what's Bitcoin, what's Bitcoin, what's Bitcoin? And basically what a lot of this did was it just basically stopped it. It just basically came in and said, boom, look at this, I'm going to come out, I'm going to say this, listen to this. And the China stuff all happened at the same time, and basically that momentum and that buzz that the Bitcoin had kind of just got headed off. And to me, it looks more like my personal thought.
I've got a stupid question. What is FUD? FUD.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Thank you. What about
typically meant to?
Go ahead.
Typically meant to cause people to fear, to sell, or that kind of thing. Think that the sky's falling. So there's a lot of that stuff.
I got another one. What about FOMO? What's FOMO?
Fear of missing out. So when you FOMO, you see something going up, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's going to go up to 100%. I got to buy more. I got to buy. And typically that gets you buying at the top, and you typically lose out. Not always, but
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
FOMO.
FOMO all day. FOMO Mac. Ridiculous, man.
It can be good in limited occasions. It can be good if you FOMO quick enough and you get out quick enough, or you're buying the right thing in a project that's going to trend upwards. But yeah, typically that's what gets you caught.
Shameless plug for Nexus here, but I don't care when I buy high on Nexus because I don't believe the high to ever be high for Nexus. So I see it drop today down to 260. I'm at work. I'm not rushing. Whatever. It gets back up to $3. That's when I bought. I grabbed some Nexus. Honestly, I personally see. I said this at the end of the Fed. I didn't use Dash. Just actually. Dash is at the price it's at, and Nexus has pretty lofty comparison what Dash is doing. Not to downplay Dash, but I mean, how does Nexus not go to Dash is at? And it seems like to me that Dash was actually specifically mentioned, I think, in one of Colin's interviews. Is there any chance of Nexus working with?
There's always that possibility. I mean, I think that we've talked about that in the past. I mean, we personally at this point really want to focus on Nexus, and our resources need to focus on Nexus. But down the road, certainly. I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't work together, or say, hey, we have the same goals. We are like-minded folks. Let's work together. Or hey, let's put you on the Nexus network, or whatever. That kind of stuff, it needs to happen, but the problem is that, there's a lot of this, oh, hey, we're better than you, we're better than that, hey, this is our plan is the best plan, and there's a lot of that separation in crypto, and not as much unity as there should be, to having a common cause, which is, in my opinion, to advance, humankind to a new level of freedom, and that's where, we are going, and that's what we, aim to do. And, we hope that, yes, right. And to hope that there are others, right. And hope that there are others that, have that same goal. I mean, there's a lot of projects out there, and, they have different plans, and some of them are monetary, we consider that a byproduct of, what we're doing. Prosperity comes along with doing good things,
So with the Li-Fi system, with the Cube satellites, is that creating an entirely different internet, or is that an internet that's connectable through the old internet? Like, is that its own network completely that needs to be accessed only through Nexus?
So I think it would, in my, and again, Colin would be better to describe more of, his technical vision for it. But, I would certainly think that, initially it would probably have to incorporate some of the old system and then transition to a new system. Because there's a whole host of things that have to be done and set up, in order to basically start your own, completely separate of the World Wide Web kind of network. Now, I do believe, and I'm a little ignorant on the subject, but I do believe there are some projects working on those specifics in how you would do that, in a decentralized manner. So, as you were alluding to previously about, working with other projects, I mean, there may be an opportunity for us to hook up with one of those projects or people that are working on something on those lines, to make that more of a reality. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that out of the gate it would be, completely separate, 100%, different type of network, but more of an interface.
Yeah, we're just going to abandon the entire the old economic system, the internet, and we're just 100% steamrolling into the Nexus world. And speaking of, we really got to talk about this. I mean, we were going on 2 hours now. I don't want to keep it longer. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But we got to talk about the conference again. We got to go back to this. I had seen that there's going to be samples of the Cube satellites at the conference. Is that right?
I believe that Vector may bring some models, but I don't know for sure. I know that they have some on display, I believe, at Kennedy Space Center. The rocket, they will have a model scale 25-foot rocket there. I'm not 100% sure on the CubeSats.
Do you have any concern about that unveiled project to have a centralized satellite system compete with Nexus's decentralized? Are you familiar with it at all?
Are you talking about the Blockstream?
The Blockstream,
yeah. Blockstream.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, they are, and I applaud any advancement whatsoever, any kind of technological advancement. I think what they're doing is an advancement. I think that they maybe have misled people into believing that it's something more than what it is. Because I want to see more. I want to see more freedom. I want to see more people doing things, and competition brings innovation, and the more people that do things, the better off you are. So I'm not opposed to anybody trying anything. Although I do know that this is not an easy task. Not everybody is a rocket scientist because it's hard. It's not an easy thing. It takes money. It takes resources. It takes dedication. Fortunately, Colin's dad being Jim Cantrell, I mean, he's been ingrained in the aerospace industry for decades. He knows the people, he knows all the players, and he knows what it takes to make a successful business. And I will tell you, it's not easy. If you talk to him, I guarantee you he wouldn't say this is the easiest thing in the world. I mean,
It's rocket science.
It's rocket, exactly. So when I hear people talk about, oh, we're gonna do this, I kind of, and say, well, more power to you. If you can do it, go for it. That's what this world's all about. If you got an idea and you can do it, go for it. And if other people can do it, great. That's great. If we can have more satellites that are free up in the sky and it's free for people to access them, that's great. I want to see that. We're going to continue to do what we do, and we're going to continue to work on our vision. And there's a lot of work to do, and we're going to keep doing what we do. And if other people can do similar things, I think that's great. But I can tell you that we're well on our way. I mean, we're well on our way.
All right, so we're like over 2 hours in, and I just want to thank you for your enthusiasm about Nexus and sharing this information with us, because honestly, it's getting us excited and happy to be a part of Nexus in any way possible. With that being said,
yeah,
I wanted to hopefully announce now that we were invited and we will be performing, and we will be at the Nexus conference in Aspen next week. And we want to personally thank you, Preston, for your part in making that happen. Without you, it would not be possible, man. Thank you so much for that.
I'm very excited to have you guys there. I can't wait to hang out.
It's going to be a great time. And actually, the website was just updated. Let me see if I could. There's a bunch of musical acts. It's not just speakers, although the amount of speakers that are going to be there and the people who are speaking, Dr. Ron Paul, Judge Knapp, Jesse Ventura. There's so many people that I want to see, and I really hope. Oh, there we are. I really hope. Hey, we did it. We made it. Hey, Jordan, what's up, buddy?
It's like Paul Fest.
There she is. Tatiana Marose. Hopefully she brings her purple fur coat. I was a big fan of that. We're just super excited to be a part of this. I mean, all I've been thinking about for the past 3 months has been Nexus. And once I found out that the conference was happening, that was also the only thing that I've been thinking about ever since that I found out about it. So my wife, is getting pretty sick and tired of me talking about Nexus, because she'll be talking about taking the kid to gymnastics, and I'll figure out some way to involve Nexus into the conversation. So, she's getting a little sick and tired of it, but she's going to be joining us also. Moses' wife is going to be joining us. And again, we appreciate the invitation, the extended invitation, especially.
Absolutely.
We are just thrilled to be rubbing shoulders with you guys, to hopefully meet, Colin and Jim, Papa Cantrell, as I've coined him, and, some of the other developers and people involved with Nexus. And, not just the people involved directly with the project, but the people like us who are excited about the project, so we can share that excitement with each other and really just watch this thing go to the moon. And I know that every time somebody says go to the moon, Keith chimes in and he says, no, we're bringing the moon to us. We're bringing the moon to Earth. And that's what Nexus is all about. So it is just an amazing opportunity. And for not a second do we take advantage of it, or I don't want to seem ungrateful in any way, shape, or form. So I told you before, man, I will thank you forever for this opportunity. And, we just can't wait, man. It's literally, where are we at? It's Friday,
like
Saturday?
5 days.
We're looking at 5 days, man. We'll be in Aspen hanging out with P-Dog, man. Super excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can't wait. And, Keith and I joked around, and we're like, wow, Dr. Paul is headlining the conference for the project that we worked on, that we helped build. And it's amazing. I mean, and not saying that I don't want to see everybody that's there, because I have an interest in pretty much everything, but it's really an honor to Keith and I that he's coming to talk at our conference. It's kind of like a like a life-changing event, something that, I don't know if you can top it.
Oh, it's euphoric, man. It really is euphoric, because where were we? We were in the Philly Freedom Fest,
We were
right, Moses?
2 feet from him.
We were like 2 or 3 feet from him. You know, the Philly Freedom Festival, that was
In the rain.
In the rain. There was like 4,000 people. It was about was it 4,000? Am I exaggerating? It was about 4,000 people. It was raining out. It was like 40 degrees out. And I mean, people, it was amazing, man. The excitement that
He was like
there.
the Beatles.
Yeah, he
little
really is.
80-year-old man come running up, and I started crying. I'm a grown man.
Yep. Well, whenever he came to Pittsburgh in 2012 or 2011, 2012, my wife was pregnant with my daughter, very, very pregnant, and we stood in line for hours to get in to see him. So, and it was around the block. So, it's great to see a lot of that enthusiasm coming back, and I think we're going to see a lot more.
I wonder how he deals with it, because I know he meets us people everywhere he goes. You know what I mean? Just like,
Sure.
You changed my life, Dr. Paul. Just chasing him down the grocery store. He's active for an 80-something-year-old.
The guy's amazing.
There it is.
A new event the Fed because I got to get him to sign. I also got
Yes.
Revolution. I got it in a hard copy because I have two softbacks, and I was like, I want to get a nice hard copy, so I ordered that, and the other one's coming. So
Are there going to be more Nexus shirts at the conference?
yes,
All right, good. Just
Yeah.
make.
they're being
I'm packing
printed.
light. I want to get him to sign it. I want Jesse Ventura to hear me do my impression of Jesse Ventura. Isn't Jesse Ventura filming an episode of his show at the conference? Is this true? Did we lose P-Dog?
We may have lost him.
No!
No. He's back.
Yeah, my early teenage self is just think.
We're losing you. We're losing you a little bit,
It's a
man.
sign from the internet guy. Just continue the conversation.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, we're starting to lose you a little bit here. I think they're shutting us down. Shutting down the airwaves, man. Hey, Preston, thank you so much for joining us on our debut episode. This has been a long time coming, I think, for us to actually start doing this again. We were on a long hiatus. I know personally I was on a very long hiatus. I actually came out of musical retirement last week for the End the Fed block party. And I'm happy that I did, because then I got to meet you. I got to meet Keith finally face to face, and I got to reunite with people like Mike Heiss and Dave Casey from the Deadbeats and Jamie Martin and a whole bunch of other people. It was just an amazing, amazing time. How excited are you, man? Colorado, yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be insane. I think I'm going to have a GoPro on my head just live feeding the whole time. We were going to we're flying in Wednesday, and we were going to just drive straight into Aspen, but the woman booked with suggested that we not drive overnight because of a high number of moose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and that's
wow.
something. I've never seen a moose. Preston, have you?
Nope.
That's a little extra something in here. I mean, Jesse Ventura, a moose, Edward Griffin,
Dr. Paul.
Yeah,
And,
how about that, huh?
and yeah, that resort that we're at is they do dog sleds. So yeah, there's all sorts of craziness going on. That's not even has to do with the craziest a collection of human beings in one place at one time, which we somehow are a part of, which is so amazing. So thanks again for that, Preston. We're going to see you. We're going to be partying. I promise you I'll wear a dress shirt one of the nights so I don't look like a complete slob. But.
Oh, man. All right, Preston. Hey, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you joining us and sticking with us for this long, and actually sticking with us through all the troubleshooting in the beginning of this stream. And I hope everybody found some value, because you shared an abundance of information. My head hurts a little tiny bit just because I am the layman in all regards. And it's just, man, I just can't say it enough, man. It's just so cool to be sitting down with you. I mean, last week we met, and we hit it off, and it just felt right. You know what I'm saying? The connection felt right with everybody at the Nexus table, and then everybody over there at our table, and it just feels right once again to be sitting down with you. And I hope that we can have you back on the show over and over and over again. And every time we'll be talking about how, you know, we thought $3 was expensive to buy in, and then the next time it'll be $6, and then the next time it'll be $12, and then hopefully, who the hell knows how high it'll go.
Find link on Nexus. I don't know what something happened with our live feed of it, so. But
yeah, that's all right. I think Keith was trying to get us to ask some mining specific questions.
All those things just came through my phone right. But we'll have to do that on the next episode because it's been a very long night already.
Yes. Thank you, Keith. Preston. Hey, real quick. Keith F. Smith, Preston Smith. Relation or no relation?
No, but we're brothers.
Nexus brothers.
Bye, Nexus.
Bye, Nexus. Bye. All right, Preston. Hey, we'll.
All right, man. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. I'll see you guys soon.
All right. See you later. Moses, you are live.
I just want to say, is it me who's live, or is it live that's me? It's my John Lennon.
That was amazing. That was not your John Lennon, but this whole conversation, the whole conversation with Preston, and dude, the amount of information that was just shared is incredible.
Incredulous.
It's incredulous, y'all. I'm gonna see if I can get us pulled up here on a dual screen. Hey, there we are.
Did you have our wallet open the whole time?
I have up here on screen, you could donate Nexus right to Corrected Axiom, and you could donate Bitcoin to Corrected Axiom if you so feel the need to. At the very least, I think we definitely ask that you share this live stream even after it's posted, and you subscribe to the Corrected Axiom YouTube channel. We're going to have to decide whether or not to stick through the YouTube. I guess we're going to have to watch it after it posts, see how everything looks, how everything sounds, see if there was that delay in there with the audio, visuals, and such. I'm just going to fucking be rambling now. Subscribe to the damn channel.
Subscribe.
Listen, here's how it played out, all right? We had a Corrected Axiom YouTube channel. When did we start? That was July 4th. 2012, right?
Yeah.
July 4th, 2012, we started the Corrected Axiom YouTube, and we started doing the End of Fed Philly shows. We started going to different rallies. We were getting invited to Liberty Fest, Anarchy in NYC, the Disinauguration Ball in DC, ultimately Paul Fest in Tampa, numerous other shows, and I keep doing this where I start rambling and I fucking lose my train of thought. Man. We were doing interviews that whole time. So we would do a show, we would have live performances uploaded to the page, and then doing these interviews, have those uploaded to the page. And then one day, we were on like a short hiatus, so I don't think either of us were really looking at the YouTube channel. And then one day I went to go log in, and it wasn't there at all. It's not that our videos were erased and then the channel was there. The channel was completely deleted from the YouTube server with no email, no explanation. I reached out to them several times, no reply at all. And I was able to actually remake the YouTube channel with the same name, Corrected Axiom. So that goes to show you that they completely wiped it from their servers completely, or else we would not have been able to use the same name.
It was that Syrian bombing video we made at Stroudfest.
You know, I re-uploaded that and it's still on there.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to pull this up. So we have a very lackluster YouTube channel as far as subscribers goes. I mean, we had to literally start back over at zero. We had to start back over at zero. Let me see if I could pull this sucker up. Let's pull this up. Dashboard. Channel. Let's go to it. You think it was the Syria one?
Yeah.
Is that what you stink? You stink that a lot?
Stink it.
All right, let's see here. All right, so here is our... Oh, guess what? We have 2 new subscribers. Thank you to our new subscribers.
Preston and Keith.
Fantastic. Look.
The Smith brothers.
Yeah, so I re-uploaded the Syria.
Whoa!
Discussing Syria in 2013. Let me turn this down a little bit. Jesus. Here's a little snippet of what you can find on the YouTube channel.
I've read several articles in The Economist, and I was also researching it a bit myself, and I think it's a really difficult scenario, and I do tend to think that we need to exercise a lot of caution with the way we, with what our role is and how we get involved, especially with getting real involved in other countries in the past.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's Al-Qaeda that did it. I think they set them up.
Al-Qaeda.
About the airstrike, that's about it right now. Right. We don't belong here. We don't belong in any of it. We got enough problem going on over here.
You know what? It was videos like this that stopped us from going into Syria in 2013. It truly was. Not just our video, I'm saying, but...
Just a bomb, for 3 days because he had a line in the sand. Right. He has to defend now.
The old local Republican. This dude. Who is currently at war? The U.S. Who is currently the U.S. at war with? Everybody.
Terrorists, I guess would be the easy answer. Absolutely.
You look good in this video, Mo.
What's that? What do you mean? You mean my face isn't swollen because of the tooth?
That's precisely what I mean.
I think one of the issues with Syria is that there are bad guys on both sides. So I think it's easy for us to say, well, Assad is bad and the rebellion is good. But there are a lot of, rebel, awful...
This is like Mystery Science Theater for our own videos. we sit and watch it. This is when we were interviewing somebody in front of Sarah's Cafe. I got my Ron Paul Love shirt on. They have ties.
Not to cut you off, but to cut you off. Look at the young dude.
Did you see his eyes?
Yeah.
He's like,
this dude's got a clipboard. I got the young beard in this video. Boom. This is what we got to get back to. These kinds of videos here. This is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? And this video specifically, and maybe some other ones that we had similar to this, is why they took our freaking YouTube.
I told you it was this video. This is what did it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Solely?
Well,
so how long before they realized I put it back up here?
Honestly, I've thought about it before where we have all that footage from the RNC stealing the nomination from Ron Paul, or just not letting his name be spoken. Mm-hmm. Remember that footage with Dax?
Yes.
So maybe because the next election was coming up, they didn't want any of that to come up from searching, from people looking at the 2016 election.
Yeah.
So they took it down in 2015. Right? That's when it went down, isn't it?
Yeah. It was somewhere in there.
We didn't do anything. We weren't given an email like, hey, you better watch it when you say, oh, you're doing the first Heist interview. Hey, everybody, make sure they go add the Mises Institute or the Mises Caucus with Michael Heist. Look at him.
This isn't part of the Liberty Movement, but I
Look at this guy.
when I was 15, so that really opened up my mind to thinking.
Yo. Look at this guy.
Jamie Martin hugging a bush.
Look at this guy. Where are we at? There he is.
You don't really have a lot of things built up in your mind to go against the message. So
the back and forth with Giuliani, is that what it was?
Just him in general, just all his speeches, it made sense. And
he's very jittery.
Jittery as hell.
Jesus. He doesn't move as quick these days.
We should probably wrap up the show, Doc.
Why, you got to go to bed?
Yeah, I do. But also, if it's too long, people are going to share. You want to watch Preston. I mean, not us travel down.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then, buddy boy. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We really appreciate it. We still got some people hanging out. A couple people still hanging out. Hey, listen, if you like what you saw today, feel free on sharing the video. And we want to keep doing this. We're probably going to do it once a week. I would say at minimum.
Next week's episode will be live in Colorado.
And that will have to be Facebook Live.
Yeah.
We're going to Facebook Live that one. YouTube will not let you stream live on your phone unless you have 10,000 subscribers. So unless we get 10,000 subscribers in the next week, I don't foresee that happening. Ice that chin, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, you're a trooper. This dude had mouth surgery. They ripped half his jaw out. What was that, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Incredulous. An incredulous hole. But yeah, we'll be back next week live from Aspen. And then every week after that, probably either Friday night or Saturday afternoonish.
Aspen, where the beer flows like wine.
Feel free to donate Nexus to us. We love Nexus, and feel free to donate Bitcoin to us. We will have those addresses posted in the description, or you can just scan the barcodes on the screen right now. I don't know. Tell your friends.
Give us some outro music, Doc. You can do that kind of shit.
Tell your friends about us. What do you want to hear? Let's hear some obviously corrected Axiom. How about this? How about where is it? This is one of my favorites, man. Let's outro to Reason.
Peace out, America.
Peace out, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
I've been awake, I benefit from being hell-bent to elevate. I develop mental melodies to celebrate. We can tap our feet and nod our heads to beat this hellish state. Jealous fakers belly aching, reeking with the smell of hate. I see a beacon on horizon, keep propelling straight. We can all agree it's an oasis, what the hell at stake? Any place is better than this place we face together, where the rain maintains forever with no way to blame the weather. I'm sick of seeing people reap the freakish pleasures by unleashing their allegiance to beliefs to be the lesser. Teacher reach professor, then profess to speak a lecture. We can second guess the method, never measuring the pressure. Assess the texture of the fortitude you feel. Paint a picture with your words and show the sword you choose is real. It's more important to be born than die. Force supports a shield, ignore distortions to your vision while we orbit in this wheel.
Like a soldier. If you lose reason, there's no reason for truth. Hold the words spoken, motives, fear, rebuke, controlled emotions. Never over till it's over. Hold position like a soldier.
They say I'm no longer relevant. Take advantage of it while you think I'm benevolent. I gave you the world thinking that would have settled it. But you wanted more, you'll take it all in. It's evident my soul is the evidence. Every move you ever made was only for your benefit. You're lying through your teeth and that's insulting my intelligence. I can't help it if I focus on the negative. In my world, only negativity is prevalent. The mess is getting thick, but we never mess with it. We stay medicated off of other people's medicine, as if that'll help. You're looking comatose. You wouldn't know it even if the end was coming close. My relevance is deeper than a needle holding dope. My every word is freezing cold. You see I'm breathing smoke. I'm never blowing smoke. Notice there's a difference. A lie is secondary, but reality is instant.